This episode of the Demonic Compendium contains spoilers for the following games. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to a quickly demonetized new episode of the Demonic Compendium, the show where I discuss the mythology, design, and game history of your favorite Megami Tensei demons. Since launching this show, I know one of the most requested demons has been Mara, and trust me, he's coming. But for today's episode, the Big 30, I want to look at a different phallic demon. So keep it in your pants, folks, because today, we're talking about Mishaguji. I know, it is kind of a cock tease. Mishaguji was a type of kami worshipped in ancient Japan, presumably during the Jomon and throughout parts of the Yayoi periods. While a major part of worshipping Mishaguji comes from nature, the belief that rocks and stones can house divine spirits, and that the kami could aid in a successful harvest, Mishaguji were primarily worshipped as beings of sexual intercourse, and if you wanted a good bone, you should leave them a nice offering.
What did you say?
But like many ancient deities from that period, worship of Mishaguji became taboo during the Yamato period of ancient Japan. Once the Yamato took control, Mishaguji were deemed inappropriate, and in their eyes, only perverted heretics would worship such a being. So naturally, people did still worship it, and the cult of Mishaguji continued to thrive, with over 600 shrines built in their honor throughout Japan. With Mishaguji being sexual gods that often took lodging in stones, a common monument was, yep, you guessed it, just a nice, erect stone pillar. While not the location of the most shrines, worship of Mishaguji was believed to have originated from and remained strongest in the Suwa region. And from there, through blending with other tales, Mishaguji became to be recognized as a phallic snake, with some stories even believing that the first Mishaguji was a transformed Take Minakata, whose story I will definitely cover on this show one day. Mishaguji's Compendium entry from Devil Summoner 2, Raido Kuzunoha vs. King Abaddon says, it was a native god worshipped in the Shinano region before the Yamato power took control. Said to be a god born from the belief that rocks and stone sheltered divine spirits.
Bone!
Design-wise, Mishaguji has had 3 major versions that all boil down to basically 2 words. Earthworm, dick. While Mishaguji is often depicted as a snake in more traditional tales, Kaneko has gone for more of a worm motif, possibly due to a bit more of a phallic resemblance, but also possibly as a nod to them dwelling in rocks and stones, worms in the ground, that sort of thing. In the original Shin Megami Tensei, Mishaguji was just a phallic worm snake thing, with the white coloration potentially being a nod to semen. Simple, yet more than effective given the source material Kaneko was trying to convey. In his first Devil Summoner design, the Mishaguji kept an earthworm-esque phallus-shaped head, but was personified more with a human body with veiny patterns because, yeah. And he tightly clutches to a stone pillar with traditional shide hanging from it, essentially making this design of Mishaguji literally dwelling at a monument erected in his honor. In his second Devil Summoner design, which I shall refer to as his Raido design, Mishaguji remains mostly the same except for being slightly more flesh-toned, and his mouth seems to have been realigned a bit. He's also ditched the cumbersome stone pillar in favor of carrying a long and hard weapon for bludgeoning. All 3 designs also feature long wavy hair, probably because, you know, the down under there hair, the between bush. I'm not going to say it.
Bone!
As far as game history goes, Mishaguji, though he originated in Shin Megami Tensei and has appeared regularly in the series from Strange Journey onward, most of his noteworthy roles come from the Devil Summoner series. In Raido Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army, Mishaguji is summoned by General Munakata at the top of Waden 1, and you can't tell me it's just a coincidence that Mishaguji is the boss, fought at the very top of an enormous fleshy tower with a bulbous tip. And in this game, he even references his own mythology by discussing the Suwa region where, as I mentioned earlier, worship of him seems to have originated. He's also fought again during the boss rush in the final dungeon, is one of 4 demons that must be fused into Raido's sword in order to create the best weapon in the game, the Onmyo Katana, and he was even important enough to appear on the game's cover. Good job, ESRB. We can't have Alex pointing a fake-looking pew-pew gun at us, but you can have a literal dickhead poking out from behind the game's logo. In the sequel, Raido Kuzunoha vs. King Abaddon, Mishaguji doesn't have a story role, but he does have special conversations with both Ariok and Mara because they're all in the same book club, where this week's reading is Kaishaku P3P. Don't look that up. Mishaguji got some natural enhancement in the 3DS version of Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, as one of the 3 demons used by Raido Kuzunoha during his boss fight. But not the Raido you're thinking of. The other Raido. Face Scar Kuzunoha. But there is an instance where the Raido we know and love uses Mishaguji as one of his loyal demons, and that is in the special version of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne where Raido replaces Dante, and he summons Mishaguji to use a powerful electrical attack. On the subject of Shin Megami Tensei, while not really a story role, I find it interesting that Mishaguji's Devil Summoner design has a 3D model in the MMO title Shin Megami Tensei Imagine. That and his Raido design makes Mishaguji one of a fairly small number of demons to have 3D models of multiple designs, as this is usually only the case for major demons like Loki or the 4 Heavenly Kings. And Fenrir, whom I've already covered on this show. Mishaguji also has a very small role in Shin Megami Tensei 4, as a demon belonging to the character Hirojingo in the challenge quest Hunter Tournament Finals. And lastly, Mishaguji's Raido design appears as a member of the Hierophant Arcana in Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth. He's not anything particularly special in this game, but I always think it's neat to see a demon appear as a persona in that game that wasn't in 3 or 4. New Cinema Labyrinth has revealed that it's using classic 2D artwork instead of the first game's 3D models, so if Mishaguji returns in this title, it will presumably use the original Devil Summoner design. Will Mishaguji be appearing in Persona Q2 New Cinema Labyrinth? Well, we'll find out very soon, because as of the time this is going up on YouTube, the game just released in Japan. And so there you have it, Mishaguji, the skin snake of Suwa that suck. You know what? No, I'm not doing this one. Did I leave out something you thought was important? Was I just plain wrong about something? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to let me know who you'd like to see me talk about in future episodes. That's going to do it for this episode of the Demonic Compendium, and I'll see you next time. But be careful while you rest that a demon doesn't take over your body.
Don't ever speak to me like that again.